Tennessee 5-1, 2-1 in SEC play, and will now have a 2-game road swing. First at Alabama this weekend, and then at Kentucky before coming back home. Tennessee, Alabama. We talked about Joe Milton, Tennessee's quarterback, on one side. Let's look at the other quarterback, Jalen Milroe. They had a little musical chairs there at the beginning of the season, trying to figure out which quarterback was going to be best. It's going to be Jalen Milroe. He is the starting quarterback, and Josh Heupel had a lot of good things to say about Alabama's starting quarterback and the differences and the confusions that he can create. Here's Josh Heupel about Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe.
A bunch of plays from inside of the pocket, pushing the football down the football field. His ability, if you don't have rush integrity to get out and make plays with his feet, is something that pops out on the tape. And then he obviously, like when the ball's in his hands and he's a part of the run game, he's dynamic. So he's somebody that you got to have bottled up, every snap. He's a dynamic playmaker.
So, Brent, are you doing what Texas A&M did to Alabama's offense? You stopping that run and saying, all right, Milroe, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us over the top, and give him credit. He did. He had a big day. Him and Jermaine Burton over the top, and he threw for 320 yards. Or do you have enough faith in your run defense overall right now that you kind of play more of your style and you dictate how you want to play Alabama and Jalen Milroe?
I think you play your style of defense, and that starts with stopping the run. Obviously, Tennessee wants to get teams in third and long situations and be dynamic and be able to do some different things with coverages on the back end and that pass rush up front. I mean, it's going to start with stopping the run. Rob, I think that's the way Alabama wants to play. I think they want to try to make it as easy on Milroe as they can. They want to, much like Tennessee wants to avoid third and long, that's where Alabama wants to be. They don't want to be in any third and long situation. So I think stopping the run on early run downs, early downs, trying to get Alabama into some obvious passing situations where your defensive line can tee off and go is where Tennessee wants to go. I don't think they suddenly change anything schematically compared to what they've done the last couple of weeks, or really since the Florida game.
No, and Hubbard, I don't think they have to with this Alabama offense. I mean, it's not like they've just been lining up and running it down people's throats. I mean, they're middle of the road. I mean, they're not even averaging 4.0 yards per carry. Texas A&M. I mean, and Texas A&M did kind of load the box a little bit, but they really stuffed them. And I'm with you. If I'm Tennessee, I don't just totally shift gears and do something different this game. I mean, Alabama's going to have to prove to me that they can run the ball if Tennessee's playing with two high safeties and not really overcommitting themselves that way. And just frankly, they have not been just a bully ball team that's been able to do that.
Look at this Alabama offense. As you said, Rob, very middle of the road. Scoring 30 points a game. Scoring 30 points a game. That's ninth in the SEC. That's how football changed, right? 367 yards of total offense on average. That's 10th. 219 yards through the air. That's 10th. 148 yards. That is 8th. This offensive line, though, they got some name power on that offensive line, giving up 31 sacks. They've scored 12 touchdowns and 20 red zone trips. Austin, what you don't want, though, and we spoke with Tim Watts at Bama Online on the Rocky Top Rewind, what you don't want is Milroe to kind of have a Matt Corral, kind of have a Bryce Young back in 2021. He's not looking to run, but he can, and he's got 5 rushing touchdowns. You don't want that phase of his game to take over this game where you play pretty good defense.
Yeah, you have to keep him corralled. He's going to make some guys miss. He's going to move around in the pocket. The question is what's his accuracy like, when he's not on platform, when he's on the run. Bryce Young was phenomenal at keeping the eyes up and making plays down the field. I don't think Milroe is as good as that, right? I mean, he doesn't throw it as well as Bryce Young did. He throws the deep ball extremely well, but he gets erratic, outside of that. So, for my liking, you just got to keep him in front of you. You cannot let him get loose. You've got to do a good job of tackling and all that stuff, will be a key part in the football game, because I think yards after contact for Milroe will be something you have to watch, because if Tennessee gets a hand or a finger or whatever on him, they've got to get him down, because the more you let him run around back there, the harder it's going to be to defend him.
Yeah, it's that play right there that had Nick Saban all in a tizzy after the game, trying to say Nats on a mule's ass or whatever with DJ Jefferson throwing KJ Jefferson throwing that guy off. Anyway, Brent, you look at this Alabama front seven. There's no Will Anderson, but you still have Dallas Turner. You got Braswell on the other side. They're getting after the passer as well. But if you're Tennessee, you look at that front seven overall compared to what it's looked like the last couple of years. Is there some confidence there to continue to run the football and play your brand of football?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, this is going to be Tennessee being who Tennessee is, and this is not a team that needs to throw it 45 times Saturday. If Tennessee's throwing it in the 40s on Saturday, then it's probably not going real well for them unless they've uncovered the magic formula to a passing game that you haven't seen yet. So, yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee's got high belief in their run game. This is an Alabama team that is Dallas Turner's a really good player, and I think they've gotten better on defense. I think they're better in the secondary than they've been, so they can commit more guys to the box. But Tennessee's spread offensive attack, Rob, just works. You know what I mean? It's like you keep looking up, and Tennessee's going for 7 or 8 yards. They're getting these gash lanes, and the double teams are working. And I think Tennessee's got to keep the field spread, as wide as you can, and try to get Alabama's defense as spread out as you can get them, and then go attack them that way. Much the same way they did a year ago. Tennessee ran the football very well against Alabama last season, and I think Alabama's rush defense was better a year ago than it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving up a little over 100 yards a game, but also in SEC play, they've not played, a juggernaut. I mean, A&M's okay on the ground. Mississippi State, is indifferent pretty much about the run game. So, I mean, they're good, but not like what they have been in years past where, with the Quinnen Williams and some of those kind of interior defensive linemen. They don't have that kind of personnel in the middle. And, I'm with you. I mean, Tennessee's got to lean hard on it this week. I mean, I think if Tennessee's going to go down there and pull the upset, I mean, I think they're going to have to be close to their average, which is 230 yards a game on the ground right now. I mean, that's a big ask, but I think that's reality. And I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility when you see what they just did to Texas A&M.
We'll have our score predictions. We'll have keys to the game and all that as the week goes on. But also, kind of closing this conversation, easy answer is obviously Joe Milton. He's got to play better, Tennessee run game. But give me somebody or give me some phase of Tennessee's game that needs to come to play Saturday for Tennessee to have this pull off this upset and on the road.
I'm going to go with Ramel Keyton. He's Tennessee's most veteran receiver. He's their most consistent receiver. I don't know if it's putting that number 80 back on. I keep making that joke because I thought it was funny, and why not? I mean, but he needs something to get him going. Ramel is a kid that I think really goes on confidence, and right now I don't think he's got a whole lot. He's an extremely hard worker, so you can bet he's going to be hitting the jugs every day in practice. But he needs something to go right early, Hubbard, to kind of get the mojo flowing a little bit for him, because right now the kid that's dropped a couple of easy ones this year looks a lot different than the kid that made that laying out against Florida diving catch last year.
Well, and he caught the first pass in the 2-play drive for the game winner against Alabama last year on a really, took a big shot when he got hit there. I think
by the way, but not to interrupt you, no one ever talks about the worst spot in the history of. You talk about how bad officials are. He gets hit, goes to the 48, and they mark it back at the 50. One of the worst spots of all time, but no one ever talks about it because Tennessee won the game. But anyways, keep going.
Don't get me started on officiating. We don't have enough time in this podcast for that, because there's a lot of things I don't understand about what's going on, what's a penalty and what's not a penalty, particularly when it comes to pass interference. But I digress. I do think that you've got to get – Eric, I think you got to throw something easy for Ramel Keyton early, whether that's a screen, whether that's a slant. You need to get something to kind of get him going and get him into the flow of a game. Now, some would say, well, you threw him an easy one and he dropped it, which is true. I mean, you did. But I just think you got to try to find a way to get him going a little bit in this game and get his confidence back. That's where Joe has had the most confidence. That's the guy Joe's had the most chemistry with. But they're off right now, and I think part of that's because Joe's off and has not been consistent enough, and obviously Ramel, Rob, has just not recovered from that drop at Virginia in the opening. He had a wide open touchdown there and he dropped that one, and he's kind of been in a funk ever since. I mean, he's had some moments here and there, but nothing like we thought Ramel Keyton would be this fall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I thought his numbers would be. I just thought he would be it's not looked like I think we all thought it would be. This Mr. Steady, whatever. You never know how many opportunities are coming your way, but Ramel has certainly developed a reputation over the past couple of years, a guy who's going to take advantage of those opportunities, and that has not been the case. And man, I mean, AP is right. I mean, would Brew out, would a quarterback? I mean, he may be a veteran, but I'm not sure how much confidence he's playing with right now. I mean, you need a guy at wide out like Ramel that you can lean on.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Eric. I thought Chaz Nimrod looked like he belonged out there on Saturday. I know he didn't get a ton of opportunities, but I liked what he did in really his first extensive playing time. I mean, the catch he made on the first third down was a really nice catch to open the game, to start that game for Tennessee. So, I mean, I think that's a positive takeaway from the passing game, that maybe you can build something there with Joe Milton and him, because I thought he was pretty good on Saturday.
I do too. He tied for the team lead in targets with 6 with Squirrel White. I thought he looked really good. And I heard Jason Swain say on the radio earlier this week, as he grows and matures and gets older, he's got to learn not to let, those DBs throw him around a little bit. But for his first start, Southeastern Conference play, I agree with you. I thought he looked pretty good.